Subscribe to the Light Sports and Ultralight Flyer web video magazine with hundreds and hundreds of videos now online, including airshow coverage, Rotax engine tech tips, Rotax 377, 447, 503, 532, and 582 engine rebuilding videos, each 2 hours in length, propeller maintenance, advisories and repairs, BRS parachute saves, Bing carb updates, and much, much more. Get a yearly subscription at www.ultralightflyer.com. Look at the lines of this airplane.
Isn't this lovely? You know what? Here at the Midwest LSA Expo 2010, first viewing of the Topaz. Now this company comes out of Poland. It's called Ekolot. We'll talk about how that's spelled when we get to the web addresses later. They actually make 3 different models of airplanes. They make the Junior too, which we have seen in this country, although not recently. But the Topaz is, I think, their top of the line model, and then they make a little single-seater motor glider kind of thing. Of course, like many of these Eastern European derived designs, they have glider experience in their background. So, very nice execution of fiberglass. It's something they have years of experience with doing. But as you look at this, it's partly you're influenced by the smoothness of it, that fiberglass thing we just mentioned, but also the nice paint job, the accent to it, and wait till we see the interior. It's just automotive kind of appearance to it. Very, very nice.
And that wing, Dan, is one piece. It's one end to the other. It's all one wing.
One wing, yeah, right. This is not 2 wings that you pull off. This is a single wing, they say. So very interesting, but not an uncommon construction for an Eastern European fiberglass qualified manufacturer. So we have a new U.S. representative of it. We'll just call him Chris for now because the rest of it's a lot of letters that Americans stumble on. He says, call me Chris, so we'll do that. And he and his wife are here representing this airplane for the first time to U.S. observers.
Now, it's got a little different exhaust system on this, but I understand it's still got a Rotax sitting underneath it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's not a lot of room here. And of course the engine probably goes back a little further than this. But here's one that uses the 80 horse 912 UL engine. We usually see the 100 horse. Almost every airplane we've done is 100 horse, 100 horse. That's fine, we like a lot of power, but this is a small, a little bit lighter airplane than some of the others. It weighs 1,200, its gross weight is 1,232 pounds, not 1,320. So that and a smooth exterior as you see here, the 80 horse is a fine engine. The 80 horse engine has a couple of advantages to it. One, it's a little cheaper. 2, it's a shade lighter, not much, but mainly it can use not premium unleaded gasoline, auto gasoline, it can use regular gasoline. So that's another few cents off of every gallon of gas you gotta buy, and you can get the stuff almost anywhere.
One of the other advantages, Dan, and I fly both the 912S and the 80 horse, is that I get away with about 2.5 gallons of fuel an hour burn versus that 912S coming in between 5 and 7.
Yeah, right, and even at the bottom end, about 3.5 or so, about as low as you can get it. So 2.5 gallons an hour, I mean, gosh, even at, say, $3 a gallon on average, that's some pretty inexpensive flying. And there are some who say the 80 horse engine just is about as bulletproof as a 4-stroke gets because it's not pushing for extra power, it's just running easy all the time.
So you mentioned about the interior, is that what we're going to go look at next?
Let's go have a look inside this thing, you'll be impressed.
Oh, come on, Ted, this isn't a light sport.
It almost doesn't look like it, does it? Now, this is not wood, this is plastic, but it's very nicely done. And just the whole interior, you know, when you get an airplane, of course you want to know how it flies, you want to know how it performs, you want to know how it costs, and all those other things.
Yeah, but you also want to have some people walk up and say, wow.
And they're going to do that with this airplane, but you're going to feel comfortable in it too. It looks pretty small from the outside. It's actually pretty roomy inside. When I first saw it, I went, not big enough for Americans, but that's probably not accurate. Now, maybe the very biggest guys would have some challenges, but this will fit more people than you'd think. And it's very nicely done. Leather interior, the speckled paint finish that many of the producers use, and that's fine because it keeps the weight down really low. Remember, this is 1,232 pounds at gross and 565 empty. That makes it one of the lighter entries. Now, they are not all done with their SLSA approval yet here in September of 2010. That's coming. The FAA man is going to meet them there. I have no question that they'll be able to achieve it because this is already sold all over Europe. We don't know it yet, but it's not uncommon in Europe. But just all over. And there's some interesting things about it here that are worth pointing out. Some little details that just show a nice attention to detail. Let's start out with the joystick up here first. Now, a lot of joysticks have buttons on top, but these also have just nice little shape to them. On the left side here is trim, less or more of it. On the right side is flaps, less or more of it, and the radio is on the what's sometimes called a coolie hat up there. And it's a center stick, either side can reach it. Nice armrest, which is always a big thing for me. And then there's more to that, but as we look at these two features here about how you adjust, if you can bring your camera over here, here's the flap indicator, a nice, looks like a little flap, shows you how far down they are. The trim, which shows in a nose down condition now, very clear and easily read. And then across the way, we have some other nice little small instrumentation here, the RPM, engine gauges and so forth over to this side. And here they've got some regular analog instrumentation. But if you want, you can have the Dynons or some other glass panel instrumentation put in this, configured kind of how you want it.
Now, control system-wise, you mentioned the joystick, dual rudder controls by the looks of it.
Yep, dual rudder controls, so it is steerable nose wheel. Here's the brake, which is very common on these kind of airplanes. We see a lot of this. Here's another interesting thing. I'll point out the one that your camera can see easily. Here's the throttle. Right down here, it's kind of out of the way. You're not going to bump on it getting in, but there's also one over on this side. So both occupants have close access to a throttle that makes it very easy to reach, and as I said, you won't bump into it. But a few more features that are kind of cool I like, just little details. Here is the fuel cutoff switch, and it also is labeled very clearly, all done in nice English, is the starter button, which you can't push the starter button right now until you turn the fuel on, and then you can push the starter button. That's a nice idea. Very simple execution, but well done. And everything uses a key. The doors use keys, the fuel caps use keys, so nobody can get in and mess with it. But then you have to have a key to turn it on. You have, here's the master switch, and you peel this little cap up here. It's not an actual switch, it takes a key. So everything takes a key, so nobody's gonna get in and mess with your airplane, and that's a nice thing to know. Of course, you better have your key with you, I guess you're not going flying. Carburetor, not carburetor heat, but cabin heat. It's just a simple little lever that pulls out here and pushes back in. It's just a nice execution of a compact airplane that's new to the market, and my guess is we're gonna see a couple of more of these.
Now, an airplane like this, Dan, is there any room for overnight bags and that type of thing?
Well, it doesn't look like there's much room, does it? But right up here, and I've kind of staged this a little bit for us, but this panel comes off and there's one on both sides. And, well, it's all the way back to about almost the length of my arm back there. So it's not going to carry a lot of bags, but overnight you could get enough stuff in there easily. And that all kind of buttons up real nice up there. We'll just lay it up there for the time being because I want to show you something else. But on my way down, here's the parachute handle. Comes with an airframe parachute in it. They've got it nicely secured so nobody pops it here at the show. But always like airplanes that have a parachute on them. And here in the center, which is this great armrest thing I showed you, but underneath that, there's a little room for, you can put your cell phone or some other stuff in there. But more than that, you can pull one more layer out. And when you look down in here now, you can check your control linkages and assure that nothing's missing, and your fuel filters in there. It's just nice the way they've tucked everything away. Clearly this airplane is a product of some fairly careful design, and this is not, as I said earlier, a brand new company. One more little place you can stash a few things in flight is this little baggage netted area on the side. So, there's not a lot of storage in here, but there's all you need for a short flight. So a couple other more items to show you here. Over here, again, a key for the master ignition. And of course, as they often do in Europe, the ignition switches are what are called guarded, so that you don't accidentally in flight bump those and shut your engine off. So those are on. And out here, when we pull the door in a little bit, you can see the vent inlets here. And that's going to bring in a lot of air to the cabin. So while it's a nice closed tight thing on a hot day, you're going to want that while you taxi, but you can have the window doors open while you taxi, of course. And to find out more information about this airplane, there's a couple of websites we want to direct you to. Number one is the company name. We talked about spelling that for you earlier. It's Ekolot. That's E-K-O-L-O-T. Pretty simple. E-K-O-L-O-T, but .pl. That's because this airplane comes out of Poland. So Ekolot.pl. But the U.S. source, which they have information at the factory on all three of their models. He's only going to be selling this one here, and his website address is niu-g.com. So NIU, November India Uniform -Golf.com.
And do you have any information on this airplane?
I don't yet, but I'm going to be acquiring some because I've admired this in Germany for a number of years, so I'm familiar with the airplane, and I'll have that available information as well as some news on it at bydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com.